She was a devoted wife, raising 4 children, living in their peaceful Manchester suburb, yet she unwittingly shared her bed with Britain's most prolific serial killer. Meet Primrose, the calm, gentle woman who married Harold in the late 1960s. She was the pillar of their family, tending to home life, supporting her husband's burgeoning medical career, and smiling graciously at school events. Neighbors described her as polite and caring, a woman who embodied all the virtues of a loving spouse. At Greyfriars Medical Center, where Harold built his reputation, Primrose was the quiet presence behind him, charming for hospital fundraisers, polite at practice gatherings, and always by his side when he received community awards. In the public eye, she was simply the perfect doctor's wife. This first chapter sets the stage, not a thriller about monsters lurking under beds, but about how utterly normal their life looked until the darkest truth was revealed. No dramatic twists yet, just the calm before the storm. A seemingly idyllic marriage in suburban England, built on routine, trust, and domestic harmony. Here's where things get tense. Primrose Shipman was summoned to testify in the late 2001 inquiry, facing tearful families and hard-hitting questions about key deaths. She was even granted immunity, so anything she said short of lying under oath couldn't be used against her. Instead of an open confession, though, she offered 2-word answers: yes, no, or the chilling "I can't remember." She claimed to believe in Harold's innocence and insisted she was helping with his appeal. But when pressed about the funerals of patients like Irene Chapman and Joyce Woodhead, she couldn't recall crucial details: where she had been, what she saw, even if she removed jewelry from the homes. She sat under intense scrutiny and could barely describe the scenes that day, moments when a wife of a killer might have known more than she let on. Yet investigators acknowledged she showed no signs of involvement or suspicion. The inquiry noted she wasn't under criminal investigation. She was simply a terrified witness in unconscionable circumstances. And when she broke down during questioning, everyone saw it. Emotion, confusion, denial, no confession. But was that real grief or guilt? Harold Shipman hanged himself in prison on the eve of his 58th birthday, crucially before he turned 60. Why did he choose that day? Because NHS rules meant his widow Primrose would receive a tax-free lump sum of over £100,000 and an annual pension of around £10,000, twice the amount she'd get had he lived just a few more years. Inside prison records and official statements revealed that he explicitly threatened to kill himself once his pension was sorted. Even a probation officer confirmed that Shipman had actively planned the timing of his suicide to secure maximum financial benefit for Primrose. In his diary 3 years earlier, he had laid out this intent. So was Primrose just an unknowing beneficiary? Or was she partly the reason he orchestrated his death? Perhaps he hoped to protect her financially. Whatever the intention, one thing is clear: his suicide was timed, intentional, and tied directly to her financial gain. Over £10,000 worth of jewelry was discovered in Harold Shipman's garage: rings, bracelets, lockets, some belonging to elderly women who died under his care. Among the stash were sentimental pieces missing from victims' homes. After his arrest, Primrose requested the return of these items, claiming they belonged to her. Investigators challenged the claim. Families of the deceased were invited to identify items they believed were stolen. Some succeeded, others could not. In total, 33 pieces went unclaimed and were sold at auction. But Primrose had already taken back over 60. Her reasoning? She said she didn't know the items were connected to patients. It raised the question no one could ignore. Did she really not know where this jewelry came from? Or did she quietly choose not to ask? In a house of secrets, silence can speak volumes. After Harold Shipman's conviction and eventual suicide, Primrose vanished from public life. No interviews, no statements, no book deals. She moved out of the family home in Hyde and quietly relocated to a small village in West Yorkshire. From that point on, she became almost invisible. Neighbors described her as polite but distant. She avoided conversations about the past, never spoke her husband's name, and rarely left the house. For someone once married to the most prolific killer in modern history, her disappearance from the public I felt intentional, like erasing a former life. She never became an activist for victims, never joined public memorials, and never acknowledged the horror her husband left behind. She simply disappeared, no public grief, no interviews, no closure. For years, the press tried to track her down. But Primrose Shipman became a ghost, a woman whose name once filled headlines, now nothing more than a shadow of the past. Primrose Shipman was never arrested, never charged, not even formally named as a suspect. Legally, she was considered a bystander, someone who lived under the same roof as a killer, but remained outside the reach of criminal responsibility. But that didn't stop the public from asking, how could she not have known? Her husband killed over 250 people over 2 decades. He visited patient homes, altered death certificates, and stored stolen items, all while sharing meals, raising children, and sleeping beside her every night. At the public inquiry, she was granted immunity. That alone made people suspicious. Why give legal protection to someone who had nothing to hide? Was she silent because she truly didn't know, or because saying more might unravel something darker? Legally, she was untouchable, but morally, ethically, her silence became part of the story. Not because she was guilty of murder, but because she never answered the question everyone still asks. What did she see, and what did she ignore? This is the question that keeps circling. Was Primrose just blind to the horror, or was she quietly helping to hide it? She did the laundry. She cleaned the house. She shared a garage with him where stolen jewelry was hidden. She lived through years of patient deaths that seemed too frequent, too convenient, especially when her husband was the last person to see many of them alive. And yet, there's no evidence she ever called police, questioned his behavior, or raised alarms. Not once. Could she have destroyed records? Could she have noticed missing jewelry and kept quiet? Could she have suspected something, but chosen not to ask? It's not about direct involvement, it's about complicity through silence. Maybe she didn't help with the murders, but maybe she helped the mask stay on. Maybe she helped keep the lie alive. Or maybe, like so many spouses of monsters, she convinced herself it was all just coincidence. Maybe she didn't want to know, and maybe that was enough. For over 30 years, Primrose Shipman lived beside a man who was secretly ending lives in cold, clinical silence, and the terrifying truth is her mind may have protected her from seeing it. Psychologists call it protective denial, a mental wall we build when the truth is too horrifying to face. It's possible she noticed odd behavior, strange schedules, missing jewelry, sudden deaths, but to accept the truth would mean accepting that her husband, the father of her children, was a mass murderer, and some minds just won't go there. Others argue this wasn't denial, it was choice, willful ignorance. That deep down she knew something wasn't right, that she looked the other way because facing it would shatter her world. Did she compartmentalize the fear? Did she bury the suspicions beneath routine family habit? Or did she see everything and stay silent to protect the image of the man she married? Was she confused? Was she in shock? Or was she complicit? We may never know what truly happened inside her mind, but that silence, it still echoes louder than any confession ever could. You've heard the story, you've seen the patterns, you've walked through the facts. Primrose Shipman, loyal wife, mother of 4, silent widow. But was she just another victim of Harold's lies? Or was she closer to the truth than she ever let on? Let's break it down. She lived with the man for over 30 years. She watched him attend dozens of funerals. She accepted expensive gifts that may have once belonged to dead patients. She sat beside him in court and stood by him in prison. She wore her wedding ring after his suicide. She took the full pension that came after his timed death. She said nothing, did nothing, changed nothing. So now the question is yours to answer. Did she truly know nothing? Did she suspect and stay quiet? Or did she know exactly who he was and choose to love the monster anyway? What do you believe? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk. Primrose Shipman was never charged, she was never convicted, and she never gave a public interview. But her silence became one of the most haunting parts of the entire case. She wasn't just married to Britain's most prolific serial killer, she shared decades of his life, his secrets, and possibly his crimes of omission. Some see her as a broken woman who loved blindly and lost everything. Others see her as someone who chose comfort over truth. Either way, she became a symbol of something deeper, how easy it is to live beside evil and not recognize it. This story isn't just about Harold Shipman. It's about the illusion of normal, the quiet routine that hides the darkest truths, the hand you hold at night that might belong to a killer, and the question we all ask when the mask finally slips. How well do we really know the ones we love? So remember this, evil doesn't always knock. Sometimes it walks through the front door with a stethoscope and a wedding ring.